Greetings, everyone, to everyone listening out there. Thank you so much for joining me. This is your sister, SiSi Pruitt. You are listening to PQLR1 Radio, where Yah is first. If you'd like to call in, please do. The number is 314-744-9414. Again, 314-744-9414. You can also text that phone number if you don't want to call in or you don't want to be heard. But we would like to hear from you if you are out there listening. Again, this is PQLR1 Radio, where Yah is first. You could reach us on the internet as well, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, also YouTube, PQLR, the number one radio, again, where Yah is first. So let me just say thank you so much for joining me. This is what we are calling Be Well Wednesday. This is the second episode of Be Well Wednesday. And what we want to do is, if not every week, every other week, talk about wellness issues, because we know in our community, we definitely have some issues with health and wellness, eating, and just the instruction of it all. And, as it pertains to the Bible, we definitely want to be able to seek scripture. And I'll just do a little recap of what we talked about last time. Last time we talked about parasites. And I don't know how many people have actually gotten into the topic of parasites so far, but boy, oh boy. I mean, I have been engulfed in it in the last couple weeks since the last time we talked. Well, really, even before we talked about it last time. But it's been a topic that I consider to be very, very, very important, because most people don't understand the complexities of parasites. Of course, we know we go to the doctor and they prescribe a pill and they just kind of generalize issues. And I'm talking about even those issues that are serious, like cancer and multiple sclerosis and just all of these major issues. They just kind of shrug it off as that. They give it this label, and they may even have a label within a label. And before you know it, you are just capped with whatever that sickness or disease is that they are championing you with. And of course, as believers, we don't want to subject ourselves to such things. Now, we're not going to say doctors are completely useless. Some people feel that, but I know that there are certain doctors that are ready to do Yah's work. There are others that are overcome and overtaken by the love of money. We know the Bible says, for the love of money is the root of all evil. And that is what is driving these pharmaceutical industries to treat you like a number and, just like you are just expendable. Well, I'm here to tell you you're not. You're not expendable, because you and only you can do what you can do, and only you can do what Yah has called you to do. So we know that you are important, and we want to make sure that you know that. And by making you know that, letting you know that, and making sure you know that, we are here to talk to you on Wednesday. Like I said, Be Well Wednesday. So considering the parasites. Now, I have been on semi-vigilant parasite cleanse, like I said, pretty much since the last time we talked. And I even joined, you can join any kind of group in Facebook, right? So I joined a Facebook group. I actually joined two Facebook groups, and I kind of interchange them as far as like what I'm saying and what I'm taking in or whatever. But they are very, very, very much into these parasites. I mean, these people, they go into the toilet and they dissect what is in the toilet, and they pull it out and they put it on a piece of paper or on the toilet stool or whatever, and they are ready to identify what creatures are coming out of their body. Okay, now they are that serious. Now, I haven't seen anybody pull out a microscope, but they are that serious. And it is very, very much so educational. If you didn't learn anything in school and you thought it was fruitless, I'm telling you this kind of thing because it applies to your life. You definitely need to get in on the parasites because, like I was talking about before, the wicked pharmaceutical system will cap you with a disease and you won't even get to know the root of it. Because when you get to the root of a thing, that's when you can really, really start overcoming this stuff. And the Bible tells us a wise man builds his house upon a rock. And the rock is the word of Yah. The rock is the word of Yah, and we want to stand on that rock. We want to make sure that we are on a rock and doing what we need to do to clear up these maladies in our bodies. And we know Yahusha, he died for our sins, and he came to bear the burden of these sicknesses and diseases. So if we are repentant and we're coming to him and we are doing all that Yah has put in us to do, we have to believe that we can overcome these things. And I'm here to believe right along with you. Let me just say, you know what? If you are going through something and you need prayer, you can definitely reach out to us. Again, we have a phone number that you could call or text, 314-744-9414. You can also reach us on YouTube because this will be uploaded there. You can also reach us on Instagram and Facebook, Twitter as well. But if you are going through these things that we're talking about on Wellness Wednesday, we want to let you know that. But back to the parasite. We're going to get on to our topic soon, which is the EMF. Now, bookmark that. The EMF. I don't know. The lady who does my flyers, which is me, I actually put the wrong information in there. I put EMP, which is not what we're talking about. We're not talking about EMP. We're talking about EMF. So just ignore that information from the flyer somewhat. Just take the P off and put an F in there. So EMF. But what I want to say back to the parasites. What I want to say is we have to take these things seriously because the root of, I would say, a great majority of these problems that we're having in our body, I don't care what it is that you have or what they've diagnosed you with, is these parasites. They are truly the enemy within that has come to kill, steal, and destroy. Again, back to the Facebook group that I'm in, well, one of them, I was being led to just kind of put a question up, like, have you all considered what the Bible says about parasites? And, the Bible mentions wormwood. Oh, my goodness. I got, not one negative comment. People came on there saying, wow, I wanted to ask about this, but I didn't. Because if we think about it and be serious about it, when we talk about natural healing, oftentimes, no matter the color, oftentimes it's people who are believing in the Bible. That's what I found, So these people, they came on with a vengeance, and I mean a good vengeance. Like they are in this group and they are so excited that somebody asked the question, like, what does the Bible say about parasites? And people are on there talking about, there's a woman, saying that, they're evil spirits and that sort of thing. And I got to believe that there's something to that. And so, people are bringing scripture and people are just having the conversation. And I would like to think that because the Bible talks about these things that are in real time today, it's actually going to draw those that don't believe the word. And they can truly say, wow, okay, I was taught all my life to be an atheist, but here the Bible actually mentions parasites. Let me dig deeper. Let me see what these people are talking about. So praise Yah to that, for that situation where over 90 comments have come up concerning the Bible and parasites. But like I was saying before, these parasites, there's so many different kinds of parasites. There are some that they say are uh, beneficial. I haven't really dug into the beneficial ones yet because I'm just not so sure about that. Then they have, one very common ones that people have because, of course, what you're ingesting. We know some people still eat pork. We know people eat meat. And I'm not saying that parasites are only in meat because you can have parasites that are on vegetables, even if they're organic. Parasites can definitely be there. We are around them all the time, whether it be parasites on your skin, which would be something like head lice or crabs, like, because people have those things that, I guess they consider STDs or STI. I don't know what the term is today, but crabs. Crabs would be considered like an outward parasite. Like I said, you got the lice. What else would there be? XO. Just any sort of thing that's trying to live off you like that. Yeah. And then, of course, there are the ones on the inside. There's tapeworm, ringworm, whipworm, pinworm. You have liver flukes. Oh, man. And they're called helminths is what the general term for these things are, helminths. But they are in there. Now, of course, you definitely want to get rid of lice or, scabies also. Scabies. All these things that are on the outside, of course, you can probably see those and you want to get rid of them because they cause a problem. But a great majority of people actually have pinworm. Pinworm is usually you think about pinworm, and that's dealing with children, small children. They say because children don't really wash their hands that well, and they put their hands in their mouth and all that. But listen, that's just what the information is. But if you look at things in reality, after COVID, things have opened back up. And so people are at these restaurants, they're at buffets, they're back at Whole Foods. Whole Food has a whole buffet thing, right? So you got people walking in off the street. And of course, they're walking in off the street. That's all I need to say. They're walking in off the street. You don't know where they came from. They could have came straight from the toilet. Just the fact that they came in off the street and they are not clean and whatever. So they're going to the buffet section, and pinworms, they have a very long lifespan just outside of the body. Okay, they dwell within the body, but they have a long lifespan outside the body. They can live up to 2 weeks on your clothing. So let's just say you are infected by pinworms, which a lot of people are, and you don't really clean yourself so good, or let's say you did clean yourself good, but last time you didn't, and then you went to zip up your coat because you're going to go to Whole Foods. So you may have some pinworm infection on your zipper. And then you go to the buffet section with your pinworm hands, and then you dig into the buffet to get yourself some nice food. Okay, well, guess what? The next person behind you, they're touching the same stuff you touched, the spoon. They're hovering over it. They're breathing on it. That's another thing. Pinworms can be distributed through the air, through your breath, all of that. This is a family show, so I'm not going to get too vulgar, but I would say go ahead and look up how pinworm can be contracted, okay? Again, this is a family show. I don't want to be too vulgar and say anything wrong if someone has their children listening. If you're listening for homeschool purposes, hey, get the truth and tell it to your children. But I'm not going to do that on here because I don't want to really offend anyone. But just look up how pinworm infection can be spread. And that just kind of gives you the information right there. Since I'm not talking about it, you kind of know where I'm going, but just look it up. So people are not clean, and it gets into your body, and they go to a certain place in your body, and they lay eggs, and they have a life cycle, and they keep hatching and hatching and hatching. And some people don't realize that this is what they have, but there are certain signals that your body gives concerning these worms that they're in there. Pinworms specifically, you have itching in a certain area or some areas. So your job is to figure out what it is that you can do to get rid of these things. Pinworm is just one. Tapeworm is a whole nother one. Tapeworms can be very long. When they break off, they break off. Yeah, that's just it. They can break off in your body. Like you may not get the whole worm when you're doing your detox. But these detoxes are very, very necessary. And if you didn't hear the last show that we did concerning this, please go back because we talked about a lot of things. I'm just kind of doing a recap, but you can definitely go back. Like I said, listen to that. Talk about the remedies for it. But everybody needs to definitely get a parasitic cleanse going. It needs to be an ongoing thing because these things live in your body, and they are coming to kill, steal, and destroy. They're causing these diseases. Like I said, the doctors will put a cap on it. But you best believe that the root cause of, I would say, a great majority of these things is the parasites, because the parasites are in your body and they are taking over the nutrients that are meant to allow your body to heal. They're taking over your gut, which is your immune system. And if your immune system is warped, whenever something comes into your body, you can't really properly heal. But they are just there to choke it off. Think about it like this. Like, the Bible talks about, Satan comes to choke the word. So that means as soon as you get the word into your spirit and your mind, you're ready to do some great things because you got the word. Well, these worms are the same way. Like, they're sitting there waiting. And as soon as that good thing comes in your body to give you nutrients and to fulfill what it's supposed to fulfill, that worm is there to just gobble it up and to stop it from going where it needs to go. So we definitely need to be mindful of this. And like I said, these people in these Facebook groups, so they're very serious. They can tell you like whatever they need to tell you. And you have some people on there that are bona fide experts. They may not be doctors, but they've been doing this for a while. They're experts. But yeah, so I'm in the group. I'm actively participating. I am extremely creeped out, but I'm doing it because I know it needs to be done. And this needs to be an ongoing thing. You can do certain things to kill these things off. First of all, stop eating the things that are not food. Processed sugar is not food. Processed foods are not foods. We don't eat meat. So, some of you continue to eat meat. You're happy to eat it because it's grass-fed. But what was the grass-fed? Like, what was the grass-fed? We are not advocates of meat. If you still eat meat, that's good for you, I guess. But I'm not going to advocate for any sort of meat. I don't care if it's grass-fed. I don't care if you have your own cow or your grandfather had cows for generations and you know where the cow came from. I just don't advocate for meat in this time. I just don't believe in eating meat anymore. I don't like to call myself a vegan either because there's other things attached to that. I just say I don't consume animals. And it's nothing to do with PETA or preserving the earth or anything like that. I just do not believe that animals are good for us to ingest at all. So I don't eat animals. You can do studies, you're on your own and find out what consuming animal does to your body. I like what someone said. People say that you need to eat meat to receive protein. But what are you doing? You're eating an animal that ate the protein source. So you are only ingesting what the animal ate as protein, which means, how much protein are you really getting? Because they ate it. But the protein that they consumed was a plant. So why can't you just eat the plant? Why would you need to eat an animal to actually consume the protein that animal ate? That's kind of silly. Right. It is kind of silly. You don't need a middleman for your protein. There are plenty of foods that deliver protein, plant foods. I'm not going to say plant-based because that title is a little nuts too now. But plant foods, there's enough plant foods for you to receive the proper protein. And I would tell you, try it for a little while. Try it for a day and see how you feel. You'll see that you don't feel heavy or sluggish or sleepy and get the itis, like they call it. You won't have those things because you are eliminating that heaviness. And, even if you're talking about eating fish and birds and that sort of thing, still, I would tell you, just studies show that consuming animal is just detrimental to your health. It's healthier for you not to consume these things. And, people want to talk about vegetables. You can get sick by eating vegetables and all. Okay. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm just here to give you information You can surely study more on your own and come up with what you need to come up with. But I tell you, to heal from these parasites, you need to remove the things that are unnecessary. And meat is not necessary. I'm comfortable with telling you that. And if anybody listening is still eating pork, I mean, I guess people are out here still eating pork. But if you are claiming Yah and what the Bible says, we know that we're not supposed to be eating certain things anyway. Um, but how diligent are you? Are you still eating at a restaurant that probably still cooks with pork or has shellfish there? Or, are you really diligent in making sure that you're not consuming pork items? That's a whole nother story, but we need to make sure that we're not eating these things still. So, yeah, let me wrap this. I guess I could talk about the worm thing for a long time because I'm still actively in it. But I would tell you, these worms, these parasites, they're not all worms. First of all, they're not all worms, but that's the general term that they get as worms. But these parasites are there to overtake you. I was talking to my husband, and I was talking to my sister as well. When you start analyzing things, I have a family member that died of an aneurysm, and after studying, I now know that parasites actually can go into your brain. Um, and this family member also worked for the Humane Society, I want to say, for over 20 years. Well, when you work for the Humane Society or when you have animals and all of this, you're supposed to, like, quote, deworm yourself. But I don't know how you really do that if you're around these animals at all times. It just, I don't know. It just seems pointless to me, but maybe not. I don't know. I just think that the overall diagnosis of her death, was an aneurysm, but I believe that she probably had a worm infestation. And because I know what kind of lifestyle this person had, I really think that that's what it was. So, with that being said, we do have the ability to overcome these things because, if you have pets are definitely susceptible to parasite infections. I mean, think about it. Your dog has fleas. That's a parasite infestation. And people talk about their dogs being dewormed or they had worms and all this. Well, I used to think about earthworms, but we know it's not earthworms. It's a parasite infection. But, people have their dogs sleeping with them in the bed. They put clothes on them. They let them lick them in the face. And then one of the lies is the dog's mouth is cleaner than a human's mouth. I don't know who came up with that nonsense. But if you have pets, even cats, think about the litter box. These worms thrive in these sort of environments, and you are just susceptible to this stuff if you have pets. I'm not interested in pets ever again at this point after, this study that I've been doing. But I would encourage you, keep doing research on parasites. Go on TikTok. TikTok is school. Instagram is school. Facebook Reels, school. Use social media for what you can concerning learning and education. Do not sleep on these platforms. Don't listen where they say it's corruptible and all that. Yeah, it is. If you're looking for nasty things, you're going to find them. But concerning knowledge, you seek it and you'll find it. It will find you, and you will be a better person for what you know. And you can also share it with your family members. So I tell you, get on this parasite thing. Start having some ginger, some turmeric, some papaya seed. Let's see, pineapple. There are things that you naturally already have at home. Rosemary, oregano. You could be implementing these things into what you're eating. Again, move the processed foods out, the animal things out, and start implementing these good things. I kind of went on a tangent. I meant to tell you that. But yeah, move those things that are not food out and implement the good herbs. Do a little research. What other things do you might you have in your home? What I find that concerning herbs, what I find is a lot of them are multifunctional. Like a lot of them do the same thing. Like if you're trying to relieve inflammation, hey, you might have some turmeric in there, and then because you might be a little bit more skilled, you might have other things in your repertoire of supplements, and you'd be surprised. A lot of these things have the ability to fight parasites. Just get started. You don't have to be a parasite expert. I'm not a parasite expert, but I know I need to start somewhere. But another thing we need to know is when the parasites start to die off, because that does happen, they die off and then they're supposed to be expelled out of your body. You're supposed to prepare yourself for the process. So you got to get off of the sugars and the animal products to prepare your gateway so that the parasites can get out. And they're not alive, they're going to die. So they can die and go out of your body, and they're not going to be trapped like in your liver and all this other stuff. You want to make sure that they flush out. What else was I going to say? Oh, so when they die off, it's called a die-off. They die off, and then the ammonia from the parasites is leaching into your bloodstream. So you have to make sure that you're taking the right supplement to get it out, the right herbs to get that stuff to flush it out of your system. The one that I've come across is oregano or oil of oregano. But if you don't have oil of oregano, just get you some oregano. Do what you can. But the one that I've been seeing the most is something called berberine. Berberine. Let me look berberine up for you so I can read what it does. Let's see. Berberine. Okay. It doesn't want to look up berberine. Berberine. They're trying to tell me Barbara Walters. Did Barbara Walters have parasites? I don't know, but they don't want to look up berberine for me. Okay, here it is. Maybe I'm spelling it wrong. No, I'm not. I'm spelling it right. Okay. Let's see. Berberine parasites. All right. Let's go straight to it. So it says, berberine. I'm saying it wrong. Berberine is derived from several plants, including gold thread. Studies have shown that berberine kills amoebae and can be used successfully to treat Giardia infection. I think Giardia is generally found in animals, right? So, yeah. And it says, let's see here. Okay. So here's, that's not berberine. This is just telling you that in order to kill parasites, eat more raw garlic, pumpkin seeds, pomegranates, beets, and carrots. Yeah. Let's see. Berberine. Yeah. So that's it about berberine. But that thing goes in and it mops up the nonsense that the parasites leave behind. And I believe it also is a preventative method for it not going to your brain. Let's see. Again, I'm kind of learning right along with you, so I'm not attesting to be a genius at this yet. I do aspire to be, because I want to be able to help others clear these things from their system. Now, will we ever be completely free of parasites? I really don't think so. But can you choke off the ones that are trying to really affect and infect you? I would say yes. I mean, get started, because you never want to just sit back, relax, and let them take over your body. Plenty of scripture dealing with parasites and worms. Maybe we'll share that at another time, because again, of course, we should be talking about the EMF right now. But yeah. So yeah, we are going to put a cap on the parasites. Again, this is Be Well Wednesday, and we invite you to call in or text 314-744-9414, PQLR, the number 1 radio, where Yah is first, on social media, every social media platform that is, relevant to us, which would be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, and this very broadcast is going to be uploaded to YouTube soon. So I would tell you to look out for it. So if you are listening right now, Thank you so very much. I appreciate you. But feel free if you know anything about parasites, and if you know anything about electromagnetic fields, uh, yeah, feel free to call in and talk to us about it. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play a little bit of Dr. Devra, Divra, Divra Davis. Um, she is going to talk with you through this channel about mobile phones and wireless radiation. So, what is what what is EMF? What is EMF? So EMF. Okay, let's see. EMF. Okay, electric and magnetic fields. EMFs. Again, my description was off. I don't know what I was doing. Probably in a rush. Like I said, the lady that makes my flyers, she was a little off. I'm that lady. So electric and magnetic fields, EMFs, are invisible areas of energy, often referred to as radiation, that are associated with the use of electrical power and various forms of natural and man made lighting. That sounds like a very, very simple description if you ask me. But I'll tell you what EMFs are. EMFs are everything electrical that you have in your house. Everything. All right? And with that being said, everything electrical in your house is shooting off some radiation. What is radiation? What does radiation do to your body? Radiation causes many issues in your body. Okay? Now, you know, when you go get an x-ray, what are they doing? They're utilizing radiation. That's why they put that big apron around you. That's why they need a special, like, well, some of them will and some of them won't, have a special thyroid cover because they need to protect you from the radiation that is emitting from that machine. I know I got an x-ray recently, and I was so thankful that they actually had a thyroid cover, because some people do not have a thyroid cover. And I'm going to tell you, if you happen to go to a doctor's office and they want to do an x-ray and you decide, okay, yes, I'm going to do an x-ray, you need to make sure that they put an apron over your thyroid. If they do not have a thyroid cover, do not do it. Okay? I don't know why some of these people don't. But yeah, a lot of doctors' offices do not have a thyroid cover. You need to protect your thyroid. If you don't know where the thyroid is, it's in the middle of your neck, and it's a control system of your body. It is a very important gland. Okay, if your thyroid is off, you're just off completely. And women that have hormone issues know what I'm talking about. If you've been put on hormone replacement therapy, or if they've removed your thyroid, or if you've had a goiter, you know what I'm talking about. The thyroid is serious business. It's one of those things that we don't learn about. They snatch your tonsils out when you're younger, but they don't talk to you about the thyroid gland. It's a very important gland. It controls a whole lot of things. So if you have to go and you have to get an x-ray, make sure you have them cover your thyroid. If they cannot cover your thyroid with one of those thick apron type of things, you tell them, look, send me to another facility that has a thyroid cover, because you need to make sure that you protect yourself as much as possible. Because these people, the love of money, for the love of money is the root of all evil, and you can best believe that they're in it for the money. Anyway, back to the topic, radiation. So even when you think about the most simple things in your home, like what? Let's say if you had nothing in your home really but a TV, a refrigerator. Some people use the microwave still, Even if you had those simple things in your home, even, let's see, a cordless phone. These items in your home are emitting so much radiation to your body, and you don't see it. It's like a silent killer. And radiation, again, causes so many problems. And another thing we don't recognize so much, as some people do now, but these cell phones that we have, It's just a little box of radiation. You know how you feel your phone getting heating up and all that? That's a problem. It's emitting so much radiation. And some people are still putting the phone up to their face. I mean, I'm thankful for like FaceTime and all of that now, because people are not really putting the phone to their head like they were before. Of course, yes, we do still use our phones like that, but we have speaker phones, we have the FaceTime and that sort of thing that is allowing you to pull the phone from your head, but it is emitting tons of radiation to your head, your brain, your body when you are using this cell phone. And you're not really getting away from it by pulling it away from you, but you're pulling it away from you. So essentially, you think that that's better. Um, and then the refrigerator. The refrigerator emits so much as well. You think of your refrigerator as harmless. You just plug it in. It's there for you to use. No, but it's emitting radiation. Your microwave, you get double time with that because you got to plug it in. Plus, you're turning it on, and all of that stuff is zapping around because of the microwave. I think I said the cordless phone, but like if you have a cordless phone in your house, apparently there's very high levels of radiation that comes off the cordless phone. So you wouldn't necessarily think that, but yeah. So if you have that cordless phone in your house with 1,000 jacks, you know how we get those phones, and we I don't know, do people really do that today? I guess if you have business, you're probably really using the landline like that, and you may have phones everywhere around your house. Like I remember back in the day, we would be excited about getting these cordless phones, and it has 4 phones to it, so you got a phone everywhere. You got a phone in the bathroom, you got a phone everywhere. But those phones, if you are still using those phones, they emit a high level of radiation that is being transmitted into your body. And back to the cell phone. The cell phone, if you're not using it, or in most cases, in most instances, you should try to have it on airplane mode, because it is transmitting back and forth to these different cell towers, because it's trying to make sure that it's receiving a signal at all times. So it's pinging all around. And again, the effect of that radiation is something that is affecting you. So you want to make sure that, for the most part, that phone is on airplane mode. What else? What else? So, yeah, there's so many things concerning this radiation. But if you're in your bedroom, how many people have a TV in their bedroom? And I'm asking that question like I can see you raising your hands. How many people have a TV in their bedroom? How many people have a clock radio in their bedroom? How many people have a Wi-Fi system in their bedroom? How many people have computers in their bedroom, or laptops, or tablets, or anything that you could plug in? I know for me, like I have a heating pad. So even that heating pad, like when I looked that up, they're suggesting that or the electric blanket as well, that you turn it on, but then you have to turn it off. So you cannot be sleeping in your bed with a heating pad or electric blanket, because it is very, very hazardous to your health. You should not be doing that. But it's just these things that we had no idea about. They're all luxuries. They're all conveniences. They are all things that that we have, and actually we're excited to have. What about your Apple Watch? Like that thing is attached to your body. Oh goodness. But all these things we're excited to have. They are emitting radiation into our body. And we know when COVID started, most people know by now, they were out there throwing up cell towers like nobody's business, so that it could give off this 5G. So a lot of people now are living near a cell tower, and you're noticing like different changes in your body, but you're not really attributing that to the cell tower. But that's exactly what it is. There's huge amounts of radiation coming off of that cell tower, affecting your body system, depleting you. And another one concerning these cell towers and high levels of radiation, we're just being poisoned by this stuff. And you might notice that you have skin issues. You might have heart palpitations. Your hair might be falling out. You think, oh, I'm just getting older. You're having joint pains and a strange cough and all of this radiation poison. And you go to the doctor, they're going to tell you something else. They're not going to say radiation poison. But all you need to do is look around you. The first time that I discovered this topic, I was at a retreat, and it was a wellness retreat. It was probably 2013 or 12, something like that. And I had never heard of this, what we're talking about right now. There was a lady, Diane Cumberland. She had a wellness retreat. She's like 67. She's a little bodybuilding lady. And we had this retreat at the Alderbrook Resort in Washington. I'm not plugging them, but that's the best resort I've ever been to. Okay. So we were at Alderbrook Resort, and she had several guest speakers. And this one woman came up, and she was talking about the effects of the EMF. And I was just blown away because I'm like, how do you even get out of this? She talked about the certain testing that she does because she's an expert. She would come into your home and tell you what was making you sick, where the radiation was coming from. She would determine the distance between the electrical poles outside to your house and how it was affecting you. Because if you look outside, a lot of people can see, hey, you look right in your driveway or even in your backyard, you have electrical wires that are attached to your home. And you have those poles, like I said, the 5G poles right there, like huge, those big monstrous thick poles. You have them right there. Then you have the regular old poles that's been there forever, those wires all around you. It's like a system all around you that is delivering radiation to your body. I remember when I lived downtown St. Louis, and I remember driving away, and I looked at the top of the building because you could see it, and they had like an AT&T cell tower thing up there. And then I remember one day seeing this man who was going to go work on it, and he had like some very large equipment that he was taking up there, and I was trying to ask him some questions, but I guess he was just a worker bee because he didn't know the answers or he didn't want to give me the answers. But I was at the top level of this apartment, and that cell tower was right below me. So, all praises to the Most High Yah. I'm believing I'm okay, But with that being said, these people will get these permissions from each other to poison you because, again, they are maximizing their dollar. They don't really have to ask for permission. But I did see in a foreign country or in foreign countries, they are actually taking action against these EMF situations. And I'm pretty sure somebody in this country is too. I just haven't seen that. When I was doing research on this topic, I saw where people have actually won lawsuits where companies were trying to put these cell towers not in their homes, on top of their apartment buildings and stuff like that. But this radiation stuff is serious. When you consider what it affects, you have to be mindful of your children. Like, do your children have televisions in their room? Yes. Do your children play on cell phones? Yes. And those cell phones are like right in their lap. This poison, this radiation poison affects reproductive system. It affects the cellular growth. It affects their development. Do they have tablets? Yes, they do have tablets. So all of these things carry high levels of radiation. So it's not just, they shouldn't be on tablets forever. They shouldn't be on TVs forever. But the reasoning behind that is because it's causing cellular death. It's causing brain problems, developmental issues, and we need to be mindful of these things, not just for ourselves, but for them as well. We've lived these lives of convenience for a very long time. And it's time to really step up and start taking action. I was talking to a sister earlier, and she was like, "Yeah," she was in agreement that we need to take action. But it's kind of disheartening because you can remove some things out of your house, but like it's all around you. And think about now, they're installing these electric cars and electric outlets everywhere. And then you have neighbors. Let's just say I decide to get rid of the internet. Well, you still have neighbors. You have neighbors that are not getting rid of their internet. So you're going to be affected by these things. You're on a bus. Everybody has a cell phone. So how are you actually getting rid of it? I mean, our only protection is Yah. That is our only protection. I mean, it probably sounds silly to pray about these things to some people. But no, we are to pray without ceasing, and decide that we are going to live and not die. Let's see. I got a scripture for you. Let's see if I can find it. So, in Ephesians 2:2, we know that it says, that Satan is the prince of the power of the air, right? So let's see, it says, and you were dead in the trespasses and the sin in which you once walked, following the course of this world, following the prince of the power of the air, the spirit that is now at work in the sons of disobedience. Okay? So Satan is called the prince of the power of the air. He has authentic power in the world, which 1 John 5:19 says, this power has been given to him by Yah. Luke 4:6, Satan has power over some illnesses. Luke 13:16. But this is the thing. Again, we trust Yah, and we believe that we are overcomers by the blood of the Lamb. So, with that being said, there are just like the parasites we talked about, there are some unseen things that we need to be fighting and coming against. How serious are you about this walk? Like, it's not about these things that we've made it about. This walk is serious. It's not just for you. It's not just for your family, but it's for the generations to come. Like, if we are not truly walking this thing out, we cannot get the knowledge and understanding that we need. If we choose to live under a rock and choose to just stick our head in the sand about these things that are unseen, how in the world will they be abolished? We should be corporately praying about these things. This is not fun and games. I'm not on here talking about this because I'm like, wow, yeah, I can't wait to talk. No. I am here because I know a great majority of our people do not know about this stuff. People have cell phones. They're still going to get flat screen TVs. They're putting all this technology in their house, smart refrigerators, and they think that they're doing something. You might think you're doing something, so I'm talking to you. But the thing is, we need to be mindful. Like, how much can we buy? How much more can we buy that is actually hazardous to our health? We like to add more and more things to our life when actually it's to our detriment. Well, we need to be serious about understanding that these are instruments of death that we are bringing into our lives. We have to be praying about these things. We have to decide that, okay, do I really need that? Or, okay, what can I do to protect myself? What herbs can I take to combat this thing? What is it that I can do to come against these powers of darkness that have come to kill, steal, and destroy? There's definitely some things that you can do. But yeah, so what I was going to, of course, what I was going to do was I was going to play something that I had here. Did I lose it? I might have lost. Oh, no, I didn't lose it. It was right in front of me. I was going to play a little bit of something so that we could all hear, because I am not the expert. I am just one that has come into the knowledge and information and want you to do the same. So let's listen here. Again, this is Dr. Devra Davis. I'm going to play some of this so you can hear it. She'll be talking about all of the effects of the EMF, concerning cell phones and how it affects children and all that stuff. All right.
She was also a senior advisor to the Assistant Secretary for Health in the Department of Health and Human Services in the United States, and as such has counseled many leading officials in the United States United Nations, World Bank, European Environmental Agency, the Pan American Health Organization, and the World Bank. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Psychology, a Master of Arts in Sociology. She has a PhD in Science from the University of Chicago, and she has a Master of Public Health in Epidemiology from the Johns Hopkins University. A lot of degrees. She has also more than 200 publications, and she's been published in Lancet and the Journal of American Medical Associations, which are some of the top journals in the field of medical research. And she, of course, has publications in Scientific American and the New York Times. Deborah Davis, we're very pleased to listen to the truth about mobile phone and wireless radiation. All yours, please.
Thank you very much, Dean Mariels. I'm honored to be here. It's a privilege to see so many of you. I must say I'm thrilled to be at this great university, which has a tradition of open and democratic discussion, and I look forward to having a frank and full conversation, as we say in the diplomatic world. Because the issue I'm going to talk with you about is, there isn't one truth. Of course, truth is a relative term. At one point, the truth was the world was flat. When we talk about truth in science, of course, it's always relative. But there are now more than 6 billion cell phones in the world today, 8 billion wireless transmitting devices, more than 50 billion are anticipated to form the Internet of Things, and we have to recognize that we don't know a lot about the public health and environmental effects of this form of radiation. You've mentioned some of my career. I won't go through this in any great detail, but I would say to you that probably the most important thing I did, and I see many people in this room aren't even old enough to remember it, but a long time ago, you used to have smoke on airplanes. People could smoke tobacco on airplanes. And I was involved as a young scientist in the committee that actually reviewed the data and recommended that there be no smoking on airplanes. You may be shocked to hear that it was even a question for science at the time, but it was. And when I look at what we know now about mobile phone radiation, I see some very interesting similarities, because there were a lot of questions that were raised about the safety of tobacco on airplanes. And they were, in fact, legitimate questions, things we did not know. There are a lot of important questions to be asked about mobile phone radiation today, without any doubt. But the reality is we're not asking those questions. And with the exception of some researchers here and elsewhere, very little new research is being done in this field. So it's a thrill to be here, because Australia has been a leader in research in the field of electrical engineering and its applications to medicine, doing some of the most exciting work in the world and funded by institutions around the world, including the US Department of Defense. And I've worked at some of the top institutions in the world in science, and so when I first thought there could be something wrong with mobile phones, I actually owned 3 phones at the time. I own 2 now. And everybody has to downsize a bit. And I didn't believe there was a problem, and I thought if there were a problem, I would know about it, because of course I knew all about what was important in science. Well, I was wrong. I liked the fact that I could call people or actually send them messages and expect an answer at all hours of the day, and found it kind of fun in the beginning. And when somebody said to me there could be a problem with this with our health, I said, oh, don't be ridiculous. If there was a problem, I'd know about it. Well, I was wrong. And what I now know is that information is being sent to people routinely to give them safety information. I'm going to ask you to help me out here by looking at how many of you have an iPhone. Now, I assume you didn't all turn them off. So, for those of you who have an iPhone, would you nod, raise your hand again? I'd like you to share with your colleagues. So please go to the settings on your phone, all right? Please take a moment and nod when you've got there. All right? And be prepared to share, all right? Go to settings on the phone. Got there? All right. Now, get to settings. Now go to about. I'm sorry, you have to go to general first. There's a mistake here. You have to go to General. All right? Under General, under Settings. Then go to About, which is at the top. You got there? About? Yes? Okay. Now you have to scroll all the way down to something you don't normally see, called Legal. You got to Legal? All right. Now click on RF exposure. Now you can read it later, but it's basically telling you that you need to know that you cannot keep the phone directly next to your body without exceeding the as-tested exposure guidelines. And by the way, the iPhone does it. I happen to know how to find it on the iPhone. I'm just learning the Android system myself. But all smartphones come with some information that basically says, don't keep the phone in your pocket or you will exceed the as-tested exposure guidelines. Now, how many of you knew that before today? Well, this is a very well-informed audience relative to others. I want to thank Telstra because they actually are now giving people this information. And by the way, they're one of the first telecom companies in the world to do this. So I actually think it's a good thing. They're sending this message. How many of you have seen it? How many of you have actually looked at what it said? Well, here's what it says. This is what it says. And like most of you, I found messages like this annoying, but the reality is Telstra is telling you to use a hands-free device to keep a mobile phone away from the head and body to reduce mobile phone exposure. So that's a good thing. But on the other hand, I think that we all need to do better to give people information so that you have knowledge about how to reduce exposure. And I'm going to explain to you why we need to reduce exposure. Let's go back to almost 20 years ago when standards for cell phones were first set up. At that time, it was believed that the only thing you had to worry about was avoiding heat. That was the only effect you had to be concerned about. And so they employed the head of a very large person, a 220-pound male, who was at the top 98th percentile of military recruits in 1989 in the United States. And they set the standards to avoid heating up that fellow's brain after a 6-minute phone call. Now, there's probably 1 or 2 people in this room with a head that size. But the rest of you, like most of the world, have much smaller heads and relatively smaller bodies. And this standard, which is very much out of date, doesn't take into account the fact that people the size of these 2 bright young people here in the front row are using these devices today with no thought that maybe they're getting exposed to levels of radiation that have not been evaluated for their safety in young developing brains. Now, the electromagnetic spectrum, this is information from ARPANSA, actually goes all the way from the invisible to the visible, ionizing radiation, gamma rays, X-rays over here, and light here. This is from ARPANSA. You will see here they say FM radio, microwave oven, radiant heat. Of course, microwave oven actually happens to be of the same frequency as the cell phone, the mobile phone. The mobile phone and the microwave oven use a very similar frequency. The difference between them is power. The power of the microwave oven is 1,000 watts. And of course, that's power that can heat up a cup of water in maybe 60 seconds. The microwave oven, the mobile phone, the cordless phone, the Wi-Fi monitor, the baby monitor, they all use the same frequency. They differ in power. They also differ because mobile phones and Wi-Fi devices emit pulsed microwave radiation. It's the pulse, not the power, that appears to be biologically most important. The pulse that is erratic and irregular, like for thousands of minutes a month, for dozens of hours a week, over a lifetime, that irregular pulsed signal may be much more biologically important. And in fact, the continuous wave signals have a lot of therapeutic effects as are being applied in medicine today. This visualization from my colleague at the University of Athens shows you the variation in frequency, in amplitude, in pulse. All of these variables influence the properties a signal have and how it can affect a biological system. This is just to show you what happens in a 4-second mobile phone call. This is power density indicated here. And of course, a phone is on standby, it's not doing too much, but 900 times a minute, it's looking for a signal. It says to the tower, where are you? Here I am. Where are you? Here I am. It's smart. That's how it's supposed to do. Now, when the phone rings, the worst time for you to put a phone right next to your head is when you answer it and say hello, because it's smart and it goes to max power. They're programmed to do that. Max power. Now, it's going to go to max power. You're going to listen, and then it will go up and down and up and down. And again, it's that variation. It's the delta. It's the cumulative integrative dose under the curve over a lifetime of exposure that looks to be biologically important. Now, exposure is a kind of funny thing. There's a rather widely distributed paper by Ken Foster and C.K. Cho that said that the exposure of an adult and the exposure of a child is identical, and therefore there's no real difference in how the radiation might be affecting them. Well, let me explain something by showing off my daughter and my granddaughter. My granddaughter is a very light-skinned, red-haired, blue-eyed child. Her skin is very sensitive. My daughter is darker-haired like I am. If they have sunscreen on, they still will get a different dose of ultraviolet light, even though they have the same exposure. Because the exposure may be uniform, but the amount they will absorb differs because the properties of the skin, the property of the eye, the thinness of the skin, and a number of other variables. And those same things are relevant when it comes to thinking about cell phone radiation. Now, way back in the dark ages, when the standards were developed, two-dimensional modeling showed that children and smaller adults might absorb more radiation than larger adults. And this was scalar modeling that has now been superseded, done by Om Gandhi in 1996. Interestingly, and this is why I'm really delighted to be here, Dean, when he did this work in 1996, he was working with support from Motorola and the Department of Defense. And after he published this, he lost all his funding. That's why I'm really happy when you told me that Australia is not America. Because I think you have an opportunity to do something here in this great country. You have a tradition of independence in science and in this country that we do not have, unfortunately, on this issue in the United States. So Professor Gandhi, with whom I'm collaborating now, updated his work in 2002, here showing you that a smaller adult head here, you see the amount of exposure is quite similar, but because the head is smaller, it will absorb proportionally more. More recently, we have been working with colleagues at Porto Alegre with Environmental Health Trust, and we have developed three-dimensional modeling with anatomically based models using MRI to create the models with 1 millimeter voxels. And what we have done is to show the difference in radiation dose in heads of different ages and sizes. And I'll just show you one example here, coming from our colleagues at the Swiss National Institute of Technology, the ITIS, which have produced some of the most brilliant work in the world in this field. And they have shown here, of course, that there is going to be greater exposure, absorption into a younger head versus an older head. This is another item from their website of target tissue dose for the infant with using a system called the virtual family. Is there anyone here who's worked on the virtual family? All right. It's a really powerful and very sophisticated system that is used today to set standards for medical devices and surgical procedures, but it's not used for mobile phone standards. I find that odd. And I want to show you an example of some of the work that we are doing now that I'm releasing here for the first time. And this is a modeled microwave radiation dose of a 6-year-old with greater levels to the frontal and temporal lobes, eyes and cheek. And watch this here. Now, yellow, white, and red are the hottest, all right? And if you look carefully, you will see it's going into the eye, the nose. Do it again, just so you'll get to see it. And partly into the brainstem. Now, that's just showing you that there's going to be some exposure into that area of a young head. It doesn't tell you that there's any biological effect, right? Now, the next slide is going to show you something that might be of interest to students and faculty here. And that has to do with exposure to the reproductive organs. We call them the gonads, I think you say the testicles, and bone marrow. And look here at the radiation as it gets into the groin area. And that's just from having a mobile phone modeled into the pocket. And this, again, is based on normalized SAR with I think we had a dipole antenna. And there are many different variables you can alter in coming up with this kind of simulation, right? The number of antenna, whether it's GSM, CDMA, whether it's simultaneously operating only one antenna or more than one. But we believe that this is the kind of work that needs to be done and that this institution might be in a position to do it. And my colleagues from Brazil would be happy to share with you the modeling that we have done to date to generate this. But based on this work and other studies that have been done around the world, the United States magazine Consumer Reports recently recommended that nobody keep a phone in their pocket. Nobody. And in fact, if phones were tested in pockets, they would exceed the as-tested exposure guidelines, which is why Telstra has recently issued that advice. Now, when it comes to pregnancy, we're working with Yale University and more than 100 physicians and experts in the United States and around the world who are specialists in pregnancy. And we have been modeling exposure to the head at the end of pregnancy. And at the end of pregnancy, when, of course, the head, as any woman here knows, is right at the surface, if you're lucky, it's at the surface and it's not facing the spine, then you can get the greatest exposure because, of course, the skin is completely permeable to this radiation exposure. And that's why we've developed the Baby Safe project with colleagues at Yale to advise pregnant women to protect their abdomens from mobile phone radiation as well as from iPads, which I should add, iPads and other devices are called tablets because they belong on tables. They are tested 20 centimeters away from that big guy that I showed you before. 20 centimeters away. They are not approved to be held in the laps of little children, although millions of kids are having them now in schools because the people involved in educational technology and those involved in public health research are not talking to one another. Because if they were, they would understand that you're giving children a two-way microwave radiating device. And if you must give them such a device for learning purposes, put it on airplane mode so that it's not sending and receiving signals as it does otherwise. Now, this is some new modeling, again, that we've developed with colleagues in Brazil, and we can share with you how we've done it. We first start out with the MRI and create the model with 1 millimeter voxels, and this is quite a bit of work goes into creating this, and here is what it looks like after a period of 6 minutes. And that's really not as bad as it might look because you see the red area only gets partway through the eye of the adult.
Okay, so we got through a little bit of that video, of course, in its entirety. It's about an hour, but you can look it up on your own, of course, if you would like to see the whole thing. So you can go to YouTube and type in "The Truth About Mobile Phone and Wireless Radiation." Again, Dr. Devra Davis is the guest speaker there. We spell Devra, D-E-V, as in Victor, R-A, Davis. Dr. Devra Davis is called The Truth About Mobile Phone and Wireless Radiation. And again, just like the parasites and everything else that we're going to be talking about here on Be Well Wednesday, it is worth the research. It is worth you applying it to your life and also your family's life. Again, if you're listening and you would like to call in or text 314-744-9414, again, 314-744-9414. Look us up on the internet if you like. This video will be uploaded to YouTube. You can type in PQLR, the number one radio, where Yah is first. Also, social media for Facebook, Instagram, and also Twitter. So we listened to that bit of about EMF from a trained expert. I am not a trained expert, but I am here right here in the trenches with you, living with much EMF exposure here. You know, we have computers, we have televisions, of course, we have refrigerators, we have clock radios, we have cell phones, we have hair dryers, heating pads, our children have TVs, you know, just all of these things that we are exposed to. And like I said, they're moving us into these electrical cars. It's just so much. Like, how do you get away from it? Well, there are some things that you can do to combat the exposure. One, again, of course, you need to pray and keep these things before Yah. Yah will direct you, lead you, guide you into all understanding that you need to have. Like, do you really need a new this and a new that? Do you need a phone that does 5G? Do you need an Apple Watch that is directly transmitting things to your body because it's lying on your skin? Do you need ear pods? That's another thing. We should not be using ear pods because that is direct radiation going to your brain. Yes, it's convenient to be wireless, but it is not healthy to be wireless. Those ear pods are very dangerous. And I know you've seen incidents where they have blown up, exploded, or just totally caught on fire, I guess, in people's ears. I've never owned any myself. But yes, those ear pods are very dangerous. Do you need these extra things? No, probably not. I would say no. So how many things can we get rid of in our house that are not really necessary? Again, you know, like we talked about before, you can get rid of some things, but you still have neighbors, unless you're able to live out in the woods, you know, next to nothing. But I read another study that said before, I don't know exactly when before was, but there was less exposure out in rural areas, but now there is a whole lot more exposure compared to what it was before concerning these EMFs, because people did live rurally, but now technology has arrived pretty much everywhere. So how can you get away from it? And I was just kind of thinking back before, like, you know, we look at grocery stores and you kind of think that grocery stores have been here forever, but they haven't. People used to do bartering, trading. They had their own farms, their own systems going on. There was no grocery store. When the grocery store came into play, that's when a lot of this technology had to happen, because as they got rid of farms and just the different ways that people used to do trade, you needed to have a refrigerator, because you're going to go to the store and you're going to buy this packaged meat that had to be refrigerated. You're going to buy these packaged vegetables. If they weren't canned, they needed to be frozen. You know, so just the introduction of all of this technology into our homes has created this need for this radiation in our home. So how do we combat this? Well, let's talk about that a bit. So there are a few things that you can do. One, you need to get the technology out of your bedroom, first of all. Like, don't go to sleep with your cell phone. You need to have your cell phone in a totally different room, charging at night. Turn it off. You really shouldn't have a television in your room. I mean, you can go up to your flat screen TV and you can feel that heat emitting off the television. You can feel that. It's very warm. And if you don't know what it is, you're like, oh, wow, this is warm. It's nice. No, it's not nice. That's radiation coming off of your television. Just any devices, anything that is pluggable in your room is a hazard. So as much as possible, you know, get those things out of your bedroom. And if you have to have a clock in your room and it is, powered by the energy source, move it as far away from your bed as you can. I believe the recommended, I want to say 200 inches or something like that. I was listening to a lady talking about that. But just move it as far away from your bed as you can. Let's go on the internet. Let's see. Okay, and then also you can, if you have your Wi-Fi going, most people I think do usually have it like in their living room or their family room. If I had if I had my way, I would have my Wi-Fi in the garage. Because those walls are usually pretty thick. Not to say that radiation can't come through, but as much as you can, move that away from your family. So I would put it in the garage. There's also something called a Faraday cage. That's a system that you would put around your Wi-Fi and all of that. You can also buy something like that for your cell phone. If you do have a microwave, you can also put all these things in your microwave. But I think that's more like if you're trying to protect it from a surge or something like that. I don't know. I don't know that one. I don't have the information right now. But I know that you could buy those Faraday cages and you could put them around your electronics, your Wi-Fi device, your router, and that sort of thing. What I used to do, and sometimes I still do, is I unplug all of the Wi-Fi at night, so there's no signals going anywhere. Like if your phone's off and all of that, there's no signals coming from the Wi-Fi system going anywhere. So you can unplug that stuff. And when I did unplug it, I actually did feel a difference in my body. So try that. Try to unplug it. Let's see, what else can you do? You can get rid of those phones, those cordless phones. Get rid of those. Let's see. We've got an article here. It says we suggest you stop reading this article. You've only just begun. By doing so, you increase your exposure. Okay. They're suggesting that we stop reading the article because we're exposing ourselves to the electromagnetic radiation frequencies from my computer, smartphone, or iPad thingy. That's what it says. That's funny. But of course, we're going to read the article a little bit here. But it suggests that reishi mushrooms, the king of traditional Chinese medicine, reishi can boost your immune function and help to protect the body from EMFs. Now, I don't eat mushrooms personally because I don't think that they're healthy. I mean, plenty of people who don't eat animals do eat mushrooms. Do your own research, but for me, we don't eat mushrooms. But it is a suggestion here as number one. Then you got ginseng. This is an adaptogen. Is highly effective in resetting the body's many systems. It is potent in mitigating the influence of electromagnetic radiation. Turmeric. Let's see. Of course, most people have that. It can boost your cellular resistance to EMF exposure. Green tea, a great source of antioxidants. Green tea can enhance your body's immune function to ward off possible EMF damage. Vitamin C, a potent antioxidant found in a number of foods and herbs. Making sure your vitamin C intake levels are high can prevent free radicals from squeezing into your cells. Olive leaf, another powerful antioxidant. Extract has been known to help reduce the effects of EMF and boost the body's recovery. Polygonum, a less common but still powerful antioxidant. Polygonum has been used to protect cells from damage associated with free radicals and EMFs. Isogenol, that's it, isogenol. Pine bark extract is known as a very powerful antioxidant that can give the body EMF protection. Bilberry, let's see, this antioxidant will not only give you EMF protection, but it also is an excellent herb for the eyes. Okay. And it says the eyes can quickly become strained and irritated by the electronic devices. And I know that to be true, because we have to look at the air outside now. They're cloud in the air with all this, quote, fire from Canada stuff. And I know that I've seen my eyes definitely affected. So we want to protect the eyes for the most part here. See, they want to have me sign up for something that I don't want. And that was 9. That was 9 of them. And I think that it's only 9. Does it say? Yeah, it does say 9. So we did get them all. And this article is by Sun Warrior. I don't promote Sun Warrior, but this is what they had there. And this article was on December 2012. So you might want to look that up as well. But just do all you can to protect you and your family from these different exposures. It is really sad that we are living amongst all of these atrocities that, it's just crazy. You didn't remember anything like this when you were younger, but I would say to you, these people have been trying to kill off the population of people for a very long time. You just didn't know about it, or you were oblivious to it because you were footloose and fancy free. But now that you are here to be educated, I would say continue to educate yourself. Again, don't put your head in the sand. Don't be afraid. Walk by faith, not by sight. No matter how many you see, you can see 10,000 falling at your side. But you know what? If Yah is with you because you are repentant and you are following his way, you are reading your word, you have to believe that you're going to overcome all of these things by the blood of the Lamb. And just, like I said, live a long, prosperous life. You do not have to be afraid. Just, walk in his grace and mercy and his victory, and, continue to pray for our people as they go through things. Continue to give our people support by calling them, just checking on them. I know we like to say this walk is lonely. Well, yeah, maybe it is. But guess what? How can you be a friend to people? The Bible says he who wants friends must first make himself friendly. It doesn't hurt you to give somebody a call. We've gotten so interested in this social media stuff to where we don't have to truly connect with people. But go ahead and use that phone. Keep it away from your head, of course. But use your phone and give your brother or sister a call. Pray for them. Pray with them. Ask them, do they need something? Cash app them, whatever, Support your people, because as this system comes to wear us down in many different ways, it helps to know that somebody cares about you. That adds to us. We're going to talk about many different things on this Be Well Wednesday program. I can say program because I do want you to be programmed into being well. So we will be talking about many different things here. But I mean, come on, like, call somebody. I talked to sisters today. I was so excited to hear from her. And you have to get that way. Just go ahead, give people a call. And if you are in the vicinity of somebody and you can go visit them, of like-minded, belief, you both believe in Yah, definitely do that. Have a lunch. Go out. Take your Bible. Do a Bible study. It doesn't have to be that lonely. We just need to ask Yah to give us direction in all that we do. But yeah, so I hope you all have been able to glean from this information. Again, I'm not the expert. I'm right here to learn right along with you. And I hope that you are going to continue to do more research so that you can add to yourself and educate your children. I mean, this is a great topic for homeschool. For those homeschoolers out there, have your children study the effects of EMF. So they won't be so quick to do this and to do that and be on the internet so much because they know that it affects them. They'll know that they need to get those cell phones out of their pocket. They shouldn't be putting a cell phone down their bra, or, your little children shouldn't be having, the thing in their lap and all that. Like the lady said, oh, it's a laptop. It's meant to be, or no, she said it's a, what did she say? Can't remember what she said exactly, but it was supposed to be on the table, right? So, as you educate your children, they will become wise in these matters. But let's go ahead and read our scripture as we close out. All right, so that would be Philippians 4:8. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. I thank you all for joining me. I mean, I've enjoyed, digging into this with you. Make sure you reach out to us and, check back with us next Wednesday, 7:05 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and let's not leave out the Pacific Standard Time. That would be 5 p.m. Central Standard Time on PQLR1 Radio. And like I said, we're going to try to do this every week, but at least every other week where we do a Wellness Wednesday, or no, Be Well Wednesday, not Wellness. That's taken. Be Well Wednesday. Let us know if you have a topic that you want us to talk about. Let us know if you want to come on here and talk about it. Maybe you have gout and Yah healed you from your gout and you want to talk about gout, and we can go into like the crystallization of, your cells and how that happens and all of that. Let us know. 314-744-9414. We are excited to talk to you about how Yah has healed you, or the information you have found out and you are yet still believing for a healing. We want to pray with you. We want to believe with you. We want to be those two or more gathered in his name and seeking the healing that you so deserve if you are following your Father and being repentant and doing all that you need to do. So, yes, I am your sister SiSi. This has been Be Well Wednesday, and you all be blessed. Have a great night.